Buttercup, welcome. It is time for the week 40 mixed media prompt card. This is part of Crafty Hope prompts, which is a challenge I created for myself because I do love a really good prompt challenge, and a bunch of the ones I enjoyed had just ended. And so I was like, you know what? I can create my own. And it's been kind of marinating in my head that there are 52 cards in a deck and 52 weeks in a year, and that really would give me an opportunity to kind of build a prompt deck. And so I took a bunch of lists of prompts I had, combined some, added to it, came up with 156 prompts. That full list is below if you would like a long list of prompts. You can print that out and use it. But I cut all those prompts down, put them in this can, and every Monday I am pulling 3 of those prompts, altering a playing card with those prompts, and that's going to create my 52 card prompt deck. So then on Saturday of each week, I then do a different project. This past week I did a tag, I've done art journal pages, junk journal pages, jewelry, assemblage projects, canvases, all kinds of things. I have a full playlist. You'll find that at the end of this video. And you're invited to play along. You know, granted, this is week 40. You can start here. Go for it. You can pull your own prompts. You can use the prompts I'm using. It's just here to inspire you and maybe help you come up with some way that you can incorporate some of the things you have in your stash that you're not using, because that's how I created my prompt list. Was I looked around my room and looked at things I had and said, what are some of the things that I have accumulated and don't use? And I put down a list. So anyway, you're invited to play along. If you do participate, use that hashtag Crafty Hope prompts. Hopefully we can find you, but you can also tag me at Crafty Hope, especially on Instagram or here on YouTube, or Twitter is where I will most likely see it. Maybe Facebook. Sometimes all those algorithms don't let me see anything, but you are invited to play along with this challenge. It has been super fun. I've really enjoyed exploring my materials and combining some of these prompts together. So this past week I made this card for week 39 with the prompts coffee, walnut, ink, rub-on, and sticker. And it's time to draw 3 new prompts. So I will put these bibbies aside and pull this out, and let's get going. Our first prompt for week 40 is going to be button, y'all. Okay, yeah. Generally, that it can be just a regular button, a notion, a sewing 2-hole, 4-hole, shank, whatever style button you want. Maybe you have a sticker or stamp with a button on it. I know I've got some stamps with buttons. If you don't want to get too bulky, maybe you have like a keyboard button or a button taken a part off of something. I have loads of sewing buttons. I tend to collect them. So I'm looking across my room at 2, 4, 6, 8, 11 jars of buttons. That's just the ones I can see from here. I know that there's like 3 more behind me. I have a lot of buttons, y'all. It's a problem. So use button however you want. You could even use like a phrase like don't press my button or something like that. So, all right, belly button. Ooh, could you do something with belly button? I don't know. Okay, prompt 2 is Brayer. So that is this kind of a tool that has a handle and a roller, and it rolls out whatever. A lot of people use them on jelly plates most effectively. I really enjoy putting paint or gesso down with a brayer, even paint, because it leaves a really neat texture. If you don't have a brayer, maybe you have like a foam roller of some kind or something else that you could roll across something. Even think about like a toilet paper roll that you could just roll across, like stick a stick in and maybe roll that across to help spread some paint. There are textured ones that have like for stamping, that have things on them. So if you want to use a jelly plate print that you've somehow brayered something, just somehow use your brayer or incorporate something that's been brayered. I hope those are well enough hints. All right, And prompt number 3 is, oh, if I can get it open, y'all, my fingers, is going to be mica spray. So we had like the Pearl powders before too long. This is a spray that tends to have like a little bit of glitter in it. So there are several brands that label them as mica sprays. A lot of the like Lindy sprays that are the Starburst, I believe, have mica in them. But any kind of like ink spray that has a little bit of a shimmer to it is probably going to be mica spray. If you do not have a mica spray, use another spray. It doesn't have to be a mica spray. I tried to create a mica spray using eyeshadow and alcohol and ink, and it didn't work great. But maybe if I use some of those Pearl powders that I have that are actual like mica, that might work better than cheap eyeshadow. But just think on that. I have several other inks that have like a mica in them. So just, if you don't have like a spray, maybe you have an ink with a mica in it that you can splatter or something like that. Those are our prompts for this week. So button, Brayer, and mica spray. I think I can work with those. I hope you can. Again, if you do not like the prompts that I am using, go on and pull your own from my list. All right, guys, I'm going to go gather some things and I'll be right back. All right, I am back for button. Of course, I was thinking buttons, so I grabbed one of my jars of buttons, but my concern is with these cards, I don't want them to be thick or bulbous, and some of them have gotten that way, and that's why I had such a hard time managing them. So I might use an actual button, but I'm not sold on that idea yet. What I'm also thinking I might do is I remembered I have this. I need to test this out because I don't know how it punches. I don't know that I've ever used it. I think I bought it because I was like, hey, that's a button paper punch. So let's do something different and go straight on camera and try something out and see what happens. It might just punch the 4 holes. I'm not sure. No, y'all, it does. It makes a little paper button. So that is how, and I could do it either way. If I do it upside down, it'll be raised. Can you see that? But I just made a little paper button, and that could be absolutely perfect. Okay, so the other option is I do have, and I looked, and I might have more, but I do have this one stamp that has like these little 4 paper buttons on them. So I might stamp that, I might cut them out. I don't know. So those are options for button. For Brayer, you saw I have my Brayer. I will probably just Brayer on something. Possibly my gesso, maybe some other paint. We'll see. We'll see how froggy I'm feeling. And then mica spray, I grabbed several. So I've got several different mica sprays. This is a Wendy Vecchi, and it says on there mica spray. This are a couple dilutions mica sprays. This is a Nuvo mica mist. I love this one, but I think it's clogged up, so I don't know if I'll use it or not. And then this is the Lindy's. Can you see the sediment here at the bottom? That's the mica that's in this, and when I shake it up, that mica distributes within it. So with all of these, the mica kind of does that. So you kind of have to shake them. You can hear how a lot of them have something in them that's a little like ball bearing or something. These don't. For some reason, I'm tempted to add, go get some little ball bearings and add them to my Lindy's sprays to help, but for now they don't have it. So that's what I've gathered. And these colors are kind of off. I just kind of grabbed what I could find just to show y'all firsthand, and we'll see how that goes. So those are my prompts, and I'm going to think on these, and we'll get started. Y'all, sorry for that fan sound in the background. My craft room is, the air conditioner unit is right outside of it, and I try to remember to record only when the air conditioner's not going, but sometimes I'm just ready to go for it, and that's part of the reason I do these voiceovers, is you don't get that sound when I do the voiceovers as opposed to when I'm talking through things like that. So, you know, I'm sorry about that, but there's not a whole I can do. It is June, or is it still June? I don't know. It is summertime in South Alabama, and we must have the air conditioners. It is too hot and humid to not. So I have started this card with some collage. I am just taking it, that's just a piece of dictionary paper and some acrylic matte medium that I am collaging on top of the card. You can see I just folded it over. I'm going to fiddle with it a little bit to get the excess off, tear some of it, cut some of it. But basically, I just want to cover this card up because, like I've said in all of my other videos, the plastic lamination on there is not great for adding other materials onto. You can sand it or maybe add gesso instead of collaging if that's more your speed, but I really like the collage. It gives me something different and a good jumping off point for these cards. So now on this side, I've decided to add a little more collage, just grabbing some things that are on my desk. I really am. I'm just grabbing bits and pieces of whatever I is on my desk. I really enjoyed this process. It gave me some super cool texture, especially like a lot of times I don't use strips like this, like straight strips with edges, because I don't like straight edges, but it really gave me some interesting bits on here. So I'm going to have to do that more often when I want a lot of like texture that maybe you don't see, but you see it, but I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. That is definitely textural. I don't know. What am I trying to say, guys? It just have actual texture and not visual texture. Does that make sense? Like it's actual has like if you ran your hand across it, you can feel it as opposed to the texture you get from like marks and words and ornamentation in the background. Does that make sense? Okay, so this I think is the last piece I'm adding on here. And because this matte medium is so wet, I will dry this. I'm doing a little more trimming and then I'm going to dry this and I'm going to go ahead and go in with some of these sprays. Now, let's see. I made a list of the sprays I use. This one is a Lindy's spray and wild honeysuckle coral. But the first one I start with is that Dilutions Bubblegum Pink, and then I'll use the Lindy's, and then I've got Dilutions Crushed Grape, I think, that I'm doing along the bottom. I'm trying to get it. That one for some reason doesn't have a whole lot of color to it. It's very light for a dilution spray, so I don't know. And then I decide to add across the top that Wendy Vecchi one in Buttercup. And y'all, it makes like a rainbow. I'm so excited about it. But I wanted to add the brayer in somehow, so I'm just going to put a line of white gesso, you see, up that area there, and then take my brayer through it. Now, I don't want a whole lot, so I'm going to brayer some of that off, I think, because I don't want a whole lot of the gesso on there to cover up all of those sprays. I'm picking it up as well, but I do have, I'll bring the brayer back in to get that texture of the brayered material on there. Yeah, the brayered, more texture. I'm getting more texture on there because the brayer, So then I will go ahead and dry this. I dried that super quick. I was unsure about which side was going to be my prompt side and which side was going to be my decorative side. So I'm going to go ahead and brayer onto this other side that just has the dictionary paper. Now I don't want to mess up the side I have the inks on, so I'm trying to keep from adding additional gesso to it. So I used that Liquitex gesso, but then I wanted something a little bit heavier. So I'm going to bring in this Dina Wakley gesso as well to see if I can get a bit more texture with it, because it's a little bit of a heavier gesso. So I brayer it down and I'm going to dry it, and I still don't have the texture that I want. So I'm bringing in my matte gel medium and putting that just straight on the card, and I will brayer that. Y'all, I need to go wash my brayer. I forgot I put that matte gel on it. Ooh, I think it's time to soak my brayer. And you can see I'm trying to clean off my gesso because stuff had gotten gunked up in it and it wasn't rolling. So I'm going to brayer out that matte gel. And y'all, I just put that aside. Oh, I need to go wash that. I'm stressing about it now. So I will dry that, and that gave me plenty of texture. So from there, I'm going to come in with two more mica sprays. This green one is Lindy's in Ponderosa Pines Olive. What a gorgeous color that is. And then this is another one of those Nuvo mica mists. And again, it won't spray. The mica's clogged it up. So I'm going to grab a paintbrush and put it down. And this is Nuvo mica mist in Midnight Horizon. And something about these two colors, y'all, oh my gosh. I just fell in love with how these two combine because that blue isn't super blue. It's just kind of a like hint of a blue. So I'm going to move this around a little bit with some water, trying not to disturb it too much because I don't want to cover up the mica that's in there, because I did that in the other side. A lot of the mica kind of disappeared because I put that gesso on top. So on this one, I'm just going to go ahead and straight dry it so you can see the mica. You see that little bit of gold in the middle from the mica. Awesome. So awesome. So I look at this for a while because I don't know what I want to do. I don't want to cover it up a whole lot because I really love how that came together. So I flip back over to the other side thinking, okay, y'all, I thought about this for a long time. What side's going to be my prompt side? What's going to be my uh my my decorative side? Whew, I'm getting ahead of myself. And how am I going to add buttons to these? So I go ahead and punch a couple more buttons. I punch 3 more of that same paper. You might recognize I used some of this paper on my prompt project this past week on that tag. So it was still sitting there on my desk. And I cut out these 3 buttons. I like that blue color on top of, because I don't have blue anywhere else on that side. And I thought, okay, that's pretty awesome. So I'm going to ink the edges of the buttons with some walnut stain distress ink. And I think I'm going to go ahead and do the cards as well. But this helps, give the buttons a little bit, these paper buttons, a little bit of definition on here so you can see them a little bit better. And like I said, I'm going to go ahead and ink the edges. And then, oh, I had some paper hanging off. I should have inked it back there too. Oh my gosh. Why do we see these things after the fact? Okay, so once that is all inked, I think I go ahead and decide to bring in my prompts, and I've cut them down, and I've pulled out a little strip of the edge of a like margin of paper, and I'm going to add that honeysuckle coral, the bubblegum pink, and the crushed grape just in little sections right there on that margin of paper. And I spread it out a little bit and dry it. And I'm going to use my glue stick to go ahead and glue down the words onto them. I'm trying to make sure that the words don't end up on the same color on the background. Does that make sense? Like, I don't want the pink on the pink, and I don't want the coral on the coral. So I'm mixing up the words when I glue them down. And then here, and I'm going to cut those apart. And at some point my battery dies in here, y'all. Oh, I'm also going to go ahead and glue my buttons down. And you'll see I'm kind of putting 2 on the left and 1 on the right. So it's not so, I don't know. I felt like if I put the buttons in a straight line down the left side, there wouldn't be enough room for them. So yeah. All right, so now I'm going to cut these down, and I think I go ahead and also ink the edges of them so that they kind of match. But see, that middle one is just, the Brayer one is still too much like the one in the background, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm going to ink the edges. It'll stand out a little bit more. All will be well. And again, this is my functional side, so it doesn't really matter if it's not the prettiest thing. All right, so yeah, my battery died while I was inking, but yeah, I'm going to glue these down, and then I'll grab a pen and write the number 40 in the upper right corner for week 40. And that just gives me a reference so I know what video to come back to if I have any questions about how I did anything on these. That's all that is. All right, so now I'm going to flip it over and focus on the side that I love so much. And yeah, I decided to go ahead and bring out an actual button. But I had decided that if I put it on the top of the card, like hanging off a little, it would make it so completely bulky. I don't know, y'all. It just was one of those things that ran in my head. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my E6000 here and put it on the button and stick that on my card. I'll use some clothespins here in a second to kind of hold it in place while I step away for a few minutes and let it cure. So that's what I'm going to do. And while I was stepping away, I looked for a focal and what else I wanted to add. Because like I said, I didn't want to cover up that background too much. I love it too much to completely obliterate it. So I found this little paper doll with this little girl on it, and I thought she was too cute. And I also found in the, what are these called? The Tim Holtz clippings, a little phrase that said, "What a strange little girl." And I thought that was kind of cute. Oh, she was a strange little girl, something like that. And so I'm going to put that aside. And I decided I needed just a little bit of texture, additional texture to the background. So I'll grab a graphite stick. This is like the Lyra ones, but I found it at the dollar store forever ago before I ever heard of the Lyra ones. And I'm just dipping that in my water, y'all, and slinging it against the card. I will wipe it off the button before it dries, because I want to keep my button. And I don't think it would stick to the button anyway, because it's just a plastic button. So I will dry that real quick so that I can move on with my little, I'm going to wipe my desk too so that the other side doesn't get graphite all over it. Doing everything I can not to mess up the other sides. Okay, so I will dry this. Once it's dry, it's time to go ahead and stick my little girl on. I wasn't thinking too hard about my phrase yet. Oh, I am going to use some black soot distress ink to ink the edges of the card. And I think I go ahead, do I ink the edges of the stickers too? I ought to have inked my girl. Why didn't I think to do that, y'all? I just have started using those daubers on things, and sometimes I forget. Use them on all the things. There's no reason not to use them on everything. I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac to stick down the girl because these paper dolls are kind of thick, and so I need something sturdy to stick her down. And oh, I don't ink the edges of that. So yeah, no, I'm just gonna go and I'm using the Fabri-Tac to stick it down because that texture on the card from the matte gel and everything makes it very bumpy and it needs some extra security. So I'll use that to stick these 3 down. And then what am I going to do? I think I grabbed that same pen. I don't even remember what kind of pen it is, to go around just to frame up these words. I'm getting ahead of myself as usual. Sorry, guys. I want to show you all the things, but I also want to tell you about them. So I thought I needed something else to kind of make those words stand out once I get them finally stuck down. So I use this pen. Like I said, I don't remember what it is. I will try to maybe go find it and put it in the description box with my links to Amazon below. They are affiliate links, so I do get a compensation, but it's tiny and you don't have to pay any more if you buy anything. That's also my Uniball Signo white gel pen. It didn't add a whole lot. It didn't like the texture of that card at all. So I decided in order for her to be a strange girl, she needed something strange about her, because this little girl's not super strange other than she's got a parasol. So I've got these wings from, they're like acetate wings from Tim Holtz, and I'm using my E6000 to glue them down and slip them kind of underneath her. So she is a fairy. Because I do love my fairies. So, and with that, this card is done. I love, love, love it. I love these prompts. I'm super excited about this. I'm not sure yet what my project's going to be. I'll be thinking on it because it will be the week of the 4th of July is this week. So, it's kind of a shortened week because it's a holiday. So we'll see what comes of it. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, make sure to give me a thumbs up. I cannot wait to see what y'all do with buttons. I'm super excited about this. So, and if you have other ideas of how to use a brayer, let me know. I'd love to hear how you would do it. All right, guys, come back real soon. I've got more stuff for y'all this week, hopefully. And thank you for spending this time with me. I'll see y'all soon. Bye.